This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. Captain America and company have left for the World Baseball Classic. He's out there hitting 453-foot home runs against Kyle Freeland in exhibition. So that leaves the Yankees shorthanded back at camp. We will certainly talk about Aaron Judge and what the other Yankees in the World Baseball Classic are doing in the coming days and weeks. Austin Wells catching for the Dominican Republic, Jorge Posada coaching for Team Italy, obviously, naturally. Why wouldn't he be there? But still a couple of questions answered and important points raised and elephants populating the room during yesterday's game against the Boston Red Sox. I don't know if this is just my desperation for Major League Baseball, but it kind of feels like this year's spring training has a couple of games that have a little more importance than previous year. There are at least a couple of games this year where I feel like, oh, we'll remember that. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe once the regular season begins, we'll never think about these ever again. But like the Ryan Weathers game, I feel like, oh, like we'll remember that, I think. And George Lombard Jr. against the Red Sox and Garrett Crochet yesterday, and Luis Gil doing what he did, answering a very important Yankees question, at least for the time being, kind of feels like we'll remember that. Nobody wants to put the cart before the horse. We all remember what happens when we rush to anoint Anthony Volpe, the starting shortstop, and then he has put up identical not good seasons 3 years in a row, and now we're stuck where we are, begging to replace him with Lombard Jr. But that said, has to be talked about. Plus the WBC, Elmer Rodriguez and Team Puerto Rico, Judge, Yarborough, and company, and hilarious WBC faces in new places. All that and more. I'm Adam Weiner with Thomas Carinante here on the Yankees podcast. Thomas, did you stay up and watch Taipei, Australia last night? You be honest with me.
You know what? I didn't. But I did see the highlights because I have a Shea Whitcomb rookie autograph card that I'm hoping to cash in on soon, and he hit 2 homers last night. So how about that?
He sure did.
Team Korea, what was that? 10-3, 12-3, something like that?
Yeah.
WBC's here. I think it's going to be mildly entertaining. You look at the group play and you're just like, how did we make this many teams out of nobody? Like they are, it is structured so perfectly so no big team runs into any issue. It's like, it's obviously not like there's not enough parity like the World Cup where you're like, oh, the group of death. It's like, what's the group of death in the WBC? The United States with Brazil, Italy. Who else is even in here? Like, I don't need it's
well,
crazy.
They play Great Britain. Yeah. Mexico's
Britain, yeah.
in there. Mexico's good. Mexico made the semis last year, but yeah, Team USA basically, I mean, it's weird that USA doesn't play Canada. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm the fool. I think Canada is real. The Dominican Republic, Venezuela are all grouped together in the Florida bracket. But yeah, you've got, I mean,
I had
again,
the groups up before.
It's regional, but like Japan is just going to have to face like the other teams that are clustered overseas. So like Taipei.
Like, is this the best group? Canada, Colombia, Cuba, Panama, Puerto Rico. Like probably. Somewhat competitive. USA, Mexico, Italy, Great Britain, Brazil. I think it's obvious what's happening there. Australia, Taiwan, Czech, Japan, Korea. I think we know what's happening there. DR, Israel, Netherlands, Nicaragua, Venezuela.
Yeah.
So it's like you have 2 powerhouses in each of these things and then a bunch of throw-in teams that are – it's spillover, right? It's like Nolan Arenado on Team Puerto Rico. He played for the USA the last 2 times. There was obviously no space for him this time. He had eligibility to play for Puerto Rico this time. That's where he went. So I like the WBC a lot. I want it to just be more competitive. I mean, the problem is that baseball is not exactly a global sport. So I don't know if we'll ever reach the point where it's or reach the point in the near future where it's super competitive and we view it as a true international tournament. But when we do get to the elimination stages, I will probably argue that that is the most competitive baseball. That's the most fun that we're going to see. And the fact that it's gotten as popular as it has the last 2 times out, and there are storylines for USA to avenge the loss to Japan and so on and so forth, and DR having a stacked roster and not being overlooked, but like everyone's talking about, oh man, the US Japan final from last time, what's going to happen? It's like, well, DR is that's a crazy roster, and the fact that they're not like viewed as the top favorite right now, I don't know. Like I couldn't imagine fielding a better team than that.
Yeah, I don't really understand who beats them, but clearly they went dead silent last cycle at the worst possible time. So see what happens this year. Watching Team USA in the exhibition games has been ridiculous so far. Let's get them into the actual play. And we will, though, stick to the Yankees for now. We'll talk about Judge when he has something we need to talk about. We will talk about the tournament as it unfolds. But back at camp, we have had a few notables, and it was perfect timing for both Red Sox and the WBC Puerto Rico versus Red Sox exhibition that gave us a little Elmer Rodriguez against the Red Sox. He was announced as the number 3 starter for Team Puerto Rico as well in the WBC. So you will more than likely see him in games that somewhat count soon. He has emerged as real depth that the Yankees are going to maybe get to play with this year. But the Yankees-Red Sox game yesterday, again, I'm sure the regular season starts, I'm not going to be thinking too much about the Yankees at Fenway South in Fort Myers putting on a little show. But the one player we have really challenged so far this spring to show us something that he refused to was Luis Gil. And first of all, Luis Gil might be to the Red Sox what Rafael Devers was to the Yankees. Obviously, Devers would hit 2 home runs every time he faced the Yankees, and he's a position player, so he played every game, so that was incredibly annoying. But Gil, for whatever reason, looks like the rookie of the year every time he faces Boston, and looks like sort of a rudimentary guy chasing control over velocity and sacrificing both every time he plays anybody else in the interim period between his early 2024 breakout and present. And all camp, we've been seeing basically every box checked by everybody else. And Will Warren showing the same level of stuff as he did last year, but with excellent command, especially carving through that opening day ready Phillies lineup. Rodriguez and Lagrange and Ben Hess all taking notable steps forward. Max Fried against Panama did what Max Fried does. That was not surprising, but it was nice to see. And Luis Gil, the Yankees were playing very well. So he'd survived. He didn't have any massive blowups. He doesn't have – Brian Bayo has like a 23 ERA in spring play so far. He doesn't have that, but he looked like the guy he did last year where – you watch him and go, this is clearly a number 4 or 5. The velocity's down at around 94. He's trying to eat off of it a little bit so that he can not walk the world. And he's making himself more hittable than he should be. And this looks like a playoff liability. And I remember the start against the White Sox specifically at the end of last year where you were like, this just is not the same guy. Like he's getting the job done because it's the mailing it in Chicago White Sox in September. But this is not a pitcher I really can count on moving forward and might even have to move off him this offseason. But who wants him? So he still had not checked that velocity box. You don't know what spring ramp up. You don't know what's the guy's arm right now. Or given that he was doing it last year, you're like, maybe he's just permanently sacrificing. And we have to come to terms with the fact that he's going to be the first boot from this rotation when a rookie's ready or when Rodon and Cole are ready to come back. But then yesterday, 3 innings against the Red Sox, 6 Ks, many of them on the fastball, 3 in a row on the fastball to end the third, hitting 97.9 miles per hour as a max velo with the fastball average velocity 1 mile an hour higher than his previous start. Look, leveling up, obviously very comfortable whenever he faces the Boston Red Sox for whatever reason, but it's not like we were saying there's no way that he still has gas in the tank and there's no way we'll ever see this guy again. But based on what he did last year, it was easy to watch the last couple of starts and say, this could be spring ramp up, or it could be a guy who's just permanently locked into a different area with a different peak than we thought he'd have when he was dominating to start 2024 before he went down with that midsummer injury. And he showed us what we needed to see yesterday. So if you were, I don't know anyone who wasn't comfortable with the Yankees rotation depth before that, but afterwards, it's just another guy in another box you can check and say, okay, I saw that thing I needed to see. Every day they're throwing out somebody that I trust to an extent.
Yeah, weird people have been concerned about the Yankees rotation depth. Like, you remember when we, quote, missed out on Freddie Peralta? Like, I don't think the Yankees were ever involved on that outside of calling the Brewers, being like, hey, what's up? Purdy's available. What's it going to take? Can we get an idea? Maybe we can sneak something in and get even better. But then when the price became what the price became, or it even evolved past whatever the Yankees deemed appropriate, they were out on it. They didn't need Freddie Peralta. They didn't need more starting pitching. Additional starting pitching here would have been an absolute luxury. And I understand that there is concern with the injuries, right? Garrett Cole, before we got all these positive injury updates, looking like he could be back by May if things are continue to progress the way they are. That was a 34, 5-year-old coming off major surgery, and Yankees fans weren't ready to stake their claim on this guy returning and giving 20 to 25 really good starts and then being ready for the postseason. Carlos Rodon, who's been an up and down Yankee undergoing elbow surgery, also was a concern. Clark Schmidt out, not anybody that was like moving the needle for the rotation, but an excellent depth piece. Clark Schmidt's a good pitcher and he's a trade asset. So it hurt what the Yankees could do. The whole Luis Gil thing to me has been bizarre since day one, because everyone's calling this a bounce back season for him, 2026. I don't understand why that's the terminology. He was injured last year. A bounce back season implies that you were bad and you need to get back on track, right? Or at least that's the way that I view it. I don't know how the general baseball fandom does, but when you're talking about a candidate who needs to rebound, that means that they underperformed and had a bizarre wrench thrown into their game, and they need to figure out what went wrong. For Luis Gil, we know exactly what went wrong. He had an injury that took him out for 22 starts. He made a third of the starts that he would have made if he was healthy. And call me crazy, you look at the numbers, it's essentially exactly what he brought to the table during his Rookie of the Year season, except with a little bit less of command, which is naturally going to come when you have that long of a layoff and that serious of an injury. And a few more walks than I think has been accustomed, because he led the league in walks in 2024, but his walks per nine were a little bit lower than they were in 2025. Luis Gil, all he needed to do, and I think we've discussed this a multitude of times, is just work through the injury, get back into a rhythm, and rediscover what he's been able to do. So I think that the returns in the Red Sox game were obviously the most encouraging. Yet the velocity was there, the command was there. I think it was 56 pitches, 35 strikes, if I'm not mistaken, which is pretty good. 21 balls, sure. But for Luis Gil, outside of averaging one more hit per nine and 0.7 walks more per nine that he did last year, I don't see a problem with him in this rotation. And I don't see how, even if he does what he did last year, he had a 3.32 ERA and a 1 WAR in 11 starts. That's exactly on track. He had a 3 WAR the previous season and a 3.5 ERA. So the starts were not pretty, right? The starts in 2024 honestly weren't even that pretty. He had a couple of gems in there, but a lot of them were laborious outings where there were a lot of walks, there was a lot of traffic on the bases, and he needed to escape jams, and he did that relatively well. So Luis Gil, I think, just is the pitcher that he is, and at this point just needs the reps to get back to where he was. I think his profile is he's going to walk a lot of guys. He's going to strike out a lot of guys. Last year was an issue. The most notable issue with his game last year was the strikeouts. And that was a result of the command not being there. And I think the opposition knowing this guy's already wild. We knew he's been wild for a couple of years now. He's even more wild now. Don't swing. That's like the easiest scouting report you can give as a team when you know what the player is going through. But I do agree. What he did against the Red Sox, 6 strikeouts or whatever it was, and the fact that he was dotting the corners, hitting those velocity numbers, it's a great sign. But then again, if people are sitting here like, oh, Luis Gil on track to return to Rookie of the Year form, it's like, yeah, he was essentially there last year with just a few things that needed to get ramped up with more time on the mound, and he wasn't afforded that. So him being in the back end of the rotation is great either way. He's either going to give the Yankees a firm answer on this guy's a number 5. He's living back here. He's going to be a little bit erratic, but we know he has electric stuff. So maybe every third time he goes out, we're surprised. Or he's absolutely solid and he lives in the number 4 spot and he's giving the Yankees good outings and he's getting us by. But I don't think does anyone think he's ace material? I don't is that discussion out there? I don't know. I view Luis Gil as, again, solid arm with electric stuff, but with its flaws. I don't know if people are overrating him or they're dreaming that maybe the Rookie of the Year campaign should have been propelled into something else, like maybe a Cy Young campaign. Just don't think Luis Gil's that pitcher. The Rookie of the Year candidacy in 2024 was fairly weak. Nothing against him, obviously. He was able to conquer it and win 15 games and have a 3.5 ERA, but I don't know. I'm not concerned about the Yankees pitching. I'm not thinking bigger for Luis Gil. I'm just ready for these guys to get the reps that they need and put in the innings that they're capable of, and everything's going to fall into place for this rotation.
Yeah, you were team Luis Gil getting a playoff star last year in the Red Sox series.
Yeah,
as I recall.
I mean, the numbers there are undeniable, and that's the thing. When you get to the playoffs, the mental game probably rules all. And I understand you have the talent that you have. Like, you couldn't not pitch Max Fried, and you couldn't not pitch Carlos Rodon. And I think at that point, Cam Schlittler had probably earned his spot. But I mean, Max Fried, on the most innings he's pitched in his career, like, if you had the home series and you wanted to go with Luis Gil in game 1 and you win that game with house money, then you can save Max Fried. I don't know. This is crazy. I'm not a manager and I know it's super risky, but then at that point you could save Max Fried for game 3 or rest him for the DS, or then you just pitch Max Fried in game 2 and you probably win based on the matchups.
And Rodon at that point in time also like couldn't button his shirt. So, you know, we didn't know that, but if we had known that, I would have probably said, hey, you know what? Let's not start Carlos Rodon. Let's find a way to start Gil, Fried, Schlittler in this trio. I agree. There's no way he's an ace type, but that's not what they need him to be. And that the Cam Schlittler injury updates and progress and none of that changes what they need Luis Gil to be. They need him to be making capable starts, and they needed him to be finding that velocity and that strikeout stuff before camp. If he never found it and he was operating the way he did last year, then you're kind of feeling like, all right, April and half of May, I know I can trust him to keep me in games, but last year you kind of did feel like he was a ticking time bomb if those strikeouts never ticked back up. And he never imploded and he never hit that grenade, and that's great. He was totally fine last year. If he never found that velocity, I would have crossed my fingers and hoped that he could have gotten us through Carlos Rodon's absence without, 2-3 weeks of consistent implosions. But I wouldn't have been terribly confident. He did it last year. Maybe he could do it again. But now that I've seen the velocity, I pretty much know what I needed to know. And I'm going to advocate. We yelled. So you can split the episodes into certain, like the yelling timeline and the calming timeline. I yelled about Cam Schlittler having an injury that dated back to last year that the Yankees refused to tell us about or acknowledge.
Yes.
But now that he's ramping back up and is slow playing, and he might only be able to give the Yankees 65 to 80 pitches by the time the season opens, I am going in the opposite path. I think that's good. There's no one who needs their bullet saved more than Cam Schlittler.
Yeah.
So what's done is done. The injury affected him last year and in the offseason, and to start spring, it's there. It's hanging out. We don't even know if it's going to go away from the slow play. But if you're I can't get myself to a place where I'm still upset that he's only going to be good for 65 to 80 pitches when the season opens. If he is ready, if his spring debut goes well and everything after that starts tracking in the right direction, because I believe in what the Yankees have around him. Like, I believe that Paul Blackburn and Ryan Yarbrough are good enough at the start of the season to get them through where Carlos Carrasco and Marcus Stroman could not. And the dirty secret, too, is if you look back to last year, the Carlos Carrasco starts were actually like 50-50 wins. So as much as we want to like darkly look back on that era, they handled business in half of those games, which is kind of enough when you're at such a starting pitching disadvantage. But I digress. I trust Blackburn and Yarbrough, the Blackburrow connection. And like Elmer Rodriguez, I know if I need to tap him in for something, I'm immediately getting someone who's very comfortable in the role. So I think the Yankees are in a place without Cole, without Rodon, where I believe in the depth that they have accrued. And I believe that if they're going to do Cam Schlittler with a piggyback for a week or two, that isn't something to be fearing. That's not terrifying. That's just the hand they've been dealt. And that's a positive thing right now, because they claimed they were going to spend the offseason teaching Cam Schlittler new pitches and a changeup, trying to figure out how to get people off his fastball or whatever. And then when he was slow played and he couldn't progress the way they wanted to, they were kind of like, let's just scrap that. We're not going to teach him anything. We're going to go in this year with the same arsenal we had last year. Disappointing, but that's our reality. So guess what? If that's what we've got, then I definitely don't want him going max effort on April 1st when I know his biggest advantage is the booming nature of that fastball, which was completely unhittable against the Red Sox last year, and which is going to be tough to maintain as an unhittable pitch going through this season as more teams get the book on Schlittler. But the best chance you have is keeping him energized. And we know he loves his whoop, and we love how much sleep he's getting. He's getting incredible sleep. Maybe that helps. It clearly helped him in the postseason last year. But all we have, he doesn't have new pitches. He's not Cam Schlittler 2.0. All we have is making sure that fastball stays fresh and the mechanics stay as tight as they can in the part of the season where he's going to be crucial to a playoff rotation, as opposed to the part of the season where he is one of like 8 guys who I trust with the ball in a regular season Yankees game. Because I am totally fine with Schlittler, Heel, Warren, Rodon, Cole, Fried, Blackburn, Yarbrough, Rodriguez. 9 deep of guys who, if they're starting a regular season baseball game, I think that is totally okay. I can retract this if Blackburn ends up looking like shit. I can retract this if Yarbrough, is like a 3-and-fly guy instead of a 5-and-fly guy like he was last year. But Yarbrough was great before he got injured last year until he wasn't. He saved them. He won a game in LA at Dodger Stadium. I can go 9 deep right now with people who, if they have a regular season start for the Yankees, I think they have a reasonable chance to win that night. Playoff rotation, different story. And that's when I need Cam Schlittler at his best. So I have no issue slow playing this man.
I don't either. I think that having more pitcher, if you're 9 deep, it's great for a multitude of reasons. One being, hang on, my charger just fell. One being that you're fostering competition, which is something that the Yankees famously, don't do. Like, for bigger positions of need, the Anthony Volpe discussion is one. The Austin Wells situation behind the plate is another. The only other time they've fostered, quote, competition is this outfield logjam where just they prioritize higher paid veterans over younger players. So it's not even really a competition. They're just, we have guys who are probably better and we're paying a lot more money. So there's no room for you. There's no true competition for a lot of these positions. But if you have 9 guys vying for 2 rotation spots, 1.5 rotation spots, depending on what's happening, that gives Aaron Boone more options. It gives the Yankees ability to ride the hot hand at any point in the season. And it gives the Yankees the ability to maybe, let's say they have their own rotation dreamed up in their head. Great. Then if Cam Schlittler is your guy for the second half to take this team down the stretch and in the postseason, then you have the luxury of bringing him on at a slower pace and a little bit more comfortably. They've done similar things like that before in the past where, you get your phantom IL stints, or you start the year a little bit slower, or you have the pitch limit or innings limit. And the result, I think, is usually good. We've seen teams like, the Dodgers do this all the time. Random guys on the Dodgers hit the IL for 3 weeks and then they're back in August and they're firing on all cylinders. So you got 9 starters here. You're giving guys meaningful reps. Like, pitching is, unless you're throwing somebody in a 10-0 game, not really going to be meaningful. But I think at this point, if you're talking about those 9 names, everybody is going to get their fair share of meaningful starts and high leverage moments where they're going to be able to test their mettle and prepare themselves for what's to come down the road. So that's all great to me. And then again, you have this good mix of veterans and you have this good mix of young guys. So there's the knowledge versus the inexperience. There's the energy versus maybe the fatigue. And maybe that all plays off of each other and the unit comes together in a way where the decisions are self-explanatory towards the end of the year. Like, okay, great. Heel, your stuff actually played up really well, but you labored through innings and you improved your control. So now we got a bullpen piece. That's pretty good. Yarbrough, you did a great job starting for us. You made 15 starts, but now we need long relief in the event of an emergency in a playoff series, or if we need somebody to piggyback somebody else who drove up their pitch count in the first 3 innings of a game. So, and guess what? 2 injuries are happening. So that'll bring you down to 7 starters, and then everything else will probably figure itself out. So at this rate, the strategy is good. I think the structure is good. And now you let it all play out and see what the best implementation is.
Yeah. Well, for those watching the game or not watching, or watching us instead of the game, I don't know. A couple updates from today. The bullpen, if you're racing for the final spot in the bullpen,
6-0,
you kind of automatically seem to suck because Cade Winquest got kicked, and so did Angel Chavi. They both got kicked. So the bullpen continues to be a situation where I'm saying this is where the Yanks should have been. That was there for the rotation all year long, all offseason long. But look, it is what it is. This is where we're at now. And one of those runs off Winquest scored because Ryan McMahon got to a ball and the hole slid through wildly to first and scored an extra run. So he is not a shortstop. Sorry about your dreams, your bench dreams. You're going to have to carry Max Schumann, and you're not going to have to apologize for it because we can't have Ryan McMahon being your backup shortstop. He quite simply does not play the position. It doesn't look good. But hey, the Yankees are 9-2. They'll be 9-3 after this one. And we'll talk about the positive game yesterday instead of this one where several things like, look, these bullpen guys who we've never heard of don't look good. You're kidding me. You know, a guy who's not a shortstop doesn't look like a shortstop. You got to be joking. That's insane. But yesterday, a lot of good stuff. George Lombard Jr. should not be your opening day starter at shortstop. Please no, don't do that. That said, we knew he could play defense. We knew he had a mean glove. We knew it. We knew he had like an advanced, maybe a gold glove immediately, tier glove at third, at short, wherever you put him. But the minor league, the WRC plus last year in the minors might have been solid, but objectively, he had a tough time solving AA pitching. So we entered camp being like, I don't know what he can show us that shows that the bat has finally leveled up, that he's growing into this profile we've heard so much about. Because the speed's there, the glove's there, and the power is just kind of not. And the consistent offensive approach, is not yielding the results that we were hoping for. So what can he show us in spring training that can really move that needle? I guess the answer is, well, first of all, pretty much everything he's shown so far. But secondly, get into the box against Garrett Crochet. Show us what you got. Elevated 97-mile-an-hour fastball from the second best pitcher in the American League goes over the little monster to start off the game and out of the ballpark in Fort Myers. And then his next AB, he lines a 108-mile-an-hour single against Crochet. Again, 2 for 2 against really the number one big meanie in the division right now. It's not an elephant in the room, but it's kind of a leopard in the foyer. Anthony Volpe is someone I haven't thought about in a long time. Still not really thinking about him much. I don't want George Lombard Jr. to cut the line and start at shortstop to open this season. And displace Jose Caballero, turn him into a backup. I don't want that because we thought Volpe was ready in 2023. At least I bought into the narrative. And guess what? Same guy 3 years in a row. He changes one thing to maximize something he was bad at, then the whole house of cards collapses around him, and his numbers end up exactly where they were to start every single time. And maybe year 4 is the year. I'm not getting fooled again, but maybe it is. Lombard Jr. didn't show nearly this much actual production last year in the minors. Volpe was better at AA than he was at AA. I'm already responding to questions from friends who are like, we're really going to bury this guy in the minors. I don't think it's a burial, and I don't think it's reasonable to have him start the season. But if you weren't excited by what you saw yesterday, the new cherry on top of his excellent spring training, then I don't know what to tell you because that was ridiculous.
Awesome. And his bat needs improvement, folks. Like there's no doubt about it. Last year at AA, he had he batted .215. The OBP was good. He walked a lot, but a .695 OPS, that's not going to cut it. And he struck out 124 times in 469 at bats. So you're looking at math, 25% of the time, right? Yeah, somewhere around a little more than 25% of the time, maybe closer to 30, 27, we'll call it for math. That's not good. But at the same time, he has flashed these skills with his bat this spring that make you believe, okay, so something's there. Obviously, the long grind of a minor league. He played the most games of his career last year at 132. That was 22 more than his previous high in 2024. He was also only 20 years old last year in his age 20 season. I think that there is no circumstance he is buried. He's simply not ready for the big leagues yet. Unless Yankee fans are ready for them to make the same mistake they made with Anthony Volpe. Anthony Volpe was not ready for the major leagues when he came up. He had 20 games of AAA under his belt. Yes, he had a solid year at AAA and definitely impressed and flashed those elite tools that everybody was talking about, but the long-term nature of it was not necessarily sustained. He was not 1.OPSing at AA. He was not minimizing his strikeouts at AA. The flaws were still there. It was just he was better than most, but he was not ready to take the next step or the next two steps because he essentially skipped AAA. Lombard Jr., here's how I envision it. So Brian Cashman says his glove is MLB ready, and I think there is no debating that. He's played 3 positions this spring. He's made incredible plays at all of them. And his defense has what was like his main calling card as a draft prospect. So that's that. That's good, right? Versatile defensively and can make these plays, has the arm strength, has the range. Awesome. If there is a scenario, however, where the Yankees need that, and so full disclosure, wherever he starts the year, if it's AA or if it's AAA, there's going to need to be improvement with the bat in order for the Yankees to justify anything. So that's one. 2, there's no room right now. So why are you bringing an inexperienced guy in to not get reps because there's no room for him? Doesn't make sense either. What I want to see out of George Lombard is light the world on fire with the bat first month or 2.5 months of the minor league season. Again, injuries are going to happen. Player setbacks are going to happen. Performance-wise are going to happen. Maybe there are 2 injuries in July and the Yankees need somebody else to help out. And let's say Jose Caballero gets dinged up and he hits the 15-day IL and they're unsure if it's going to be a 15-day stint. Maybe it's going to be 20 to 25. Let's say Ahmed Rosario runs into the wall again and hurts his shoulder. The Yankees are going to need versatility and spark off the bench. George Lombard Jr. at that point, I think, would be a good option to get the taste of major league action, but not be thrown into the fire. Again, made the mistake of throwing Anthony Volpe into the fire, made the mistake perhaps of throwing Austin Wells into the fire. And we have these 2 extremes with how the Yankees treat their prospects, right? You have those 2 examples where it's like, hey guys, go out there and play. You're never not going to play and you're never not going to be removed from your spot in the lineup, no matter how poorly you're playing. Austin Wells was batting cleanup. Was it last year or the year before when he was hitting like 190 and slugging like under 4? Why is he still batting cleanup? Why is he still in stop doing this? And then you have the other end of the spectrum where it's Oswald Peraza, where it's like he was ready before Anthony Volpe and you buried him. Jason Dominguez, he was ready after his Tommy John surgery and you kept him in the minor leagues, and then you said there was no room for him when rosters expanded, and then you called him up 8 days later, and then you didn't give him consistent reps, and it may have stunted his growth. Like, there's all these factors to it where you are questioning why this is the approach with this player at this point in time. So it seems the Yankees are on either side of the spectrum with the player development process in that regard. With George Lombard, I want to see some sort of happy medium. Bring him up, part-time player for a couple weeks, maybe a month, depending on what the personnel situation is looking like. He gets his taste. He hangs out with Aaron Judge, hangs out with Giancarlo Stanton. He's chatting with Paul Goldschmidt on the bench. He's chumming it up with all the guys there. Kind of like, I hate to evoke the Jeter stuff, but like Jeter in 95, being with the team during the playoff run, being with the team late in the season, that stuff has to, like, it can't not play a positive role in someone's development. And I'm not saying George Lombard Jr. needs to be with the team when they go to the playoffs this year, but if there is improvement with his offense and if there is a lane for him to get any sort of playing time at the major league level, the middle or later in 2026, the Yankees need to make that happen. Now, if the bat's not progressing, then yeah, we're in an unfortunate situation where he's spending the entire year in the minor leagues. But at the very least, I'll probably predict George Lombard to come up when rosters expand. I don't think that's too aggressive of a take, especially if, if he has a really good April at AA, there's no reason he shouldn't be at AAA by May.
Yeah.
And then if he's able to perform and hold his own there, that'll clear the path for him. But I wouldn't. Yankees fans worried about anything with him that there's no need to, because he is not ready yet. I will say though, that signature moment hitting the home run off Crochet and then getting another hit off Crochet after, we did look at the stats previously and we were like, well, his 2 hits came off of a guy who's probably a fringe major leaguer and a guy who was an independent ball last year. So not gonna put too much stock into that, but hey, I like the advanced metrics, the exit velocities, and the ball flight. Like, that stuff is good. And then you have the defense. So George Lombard needs more time. I think he's going to be probably good and at least a consistent contributing major leaguer. But anybody getting upset about him not being on the opening day roster or not playing a bigger role as early as June, I think you're just you're getting a little bit too excited.
Well, now he and Anthony Volpe do share another thing. They've both homered off Garrett Crochet in notable moments.
Yeah.
Don't forget that actually did happen. Look, you're right. He's not going to start the season on the roster. He is not an option to begin the year. There is no reason to mentally pivot away from Jose Caballero right now. Lombard Jr. had a lot to work on before the spring started. He has a lot to work on as the spring gets underway. He would have a lot to work on whether or not he had tattooed Crochet yesterday or gone down looking twice. But he is extremely promising, and he is 20 years old. He will be turning 21 at probably AAA on June 2nd. So that's a great place for him to be. What we needed to see was the raw skill this year, and the raw skill being channeled into actual production. And when it's against a big name, a brand name like Garrett Crochet, then you have a moment to hang your hat on. And maybe that moment will only serve to further frustrate you, because maybe he goes down to AAA this year and is hitting 223 with a high walk rate and limited power. And you're telling yourself, wait, I thought, didn't he do that against Garrett Crochet? Why can't he do that against quad A guys from the Toledo Mud Hens? And so maybe that's where this turns out. I mean, he's still a prospect, despite being the number 1 prospect in the system. He's still a prospect. But I would say before this exhibition season, he was trending towards being replaced by Dax Kilby as the number 1 prospect in the system. And not just because of Kilby's ascent and insane metrics in his short period of pro ball after draft season last year, but also because he was slipping. So not just one guy surging and taking over, which might happen anyway, but the dual-pronged reality of Kilby looks incredible. The measurables are there. He's probably going to start hot at Hudson Valley, versus Lombard is not coalescing the way that we had hoped, and the skills are not matching up, and the production is still not there. Mm-hmm. And he's dangerously close to becoming a glove first prospect, and he's going to be passed by Kilby and maybe even 1 or 2 of these pitching prospects. Now it does seem like no matter what Kilby does, Lombard Jr. has enough of the tools put together to match it, and they're probably going to be going 1-2 pretty soon, and it's probably going to be pretty exciting. And yeah, like the comments are saying, the prospect fatigue is there. Even though he was a high school draftee in 2023, I don't think there are any patient fan bases. Like, I don't think there's a single, some fan bases pretend to be patient. If they've heard about the same prospect for 2.5 years, they're going to start getting tired of that guy. Yankee fans and Red Sox fans might be particularly impatient. Cubs fans, I mean, they're out there. There are certainly 99th percentile impatient fan bases. And surprise, surprise, it's the ones with the highest expectations. But I think everyone's impatient too. And when you've heard about Lombard, you've seen him in the futures game over and over again, and you start asking yourself, why am I not seeing a major change? Odds are he would have dropped down the board earlier in the season rather than that. But now it feels sort of like him and Kilby 1-2, and they're both probably earning that distinction rather than it just being this marriage of convenience. Well, Kilby looks insane and Lombard looks boring. Let's flop this around.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, it's all like the nonsense helium too. Like, should Dax Kilby getting ranked above George Lombard based on what? That he's like more of a fresh name and Lombard hit a bit of a wall at AA? Like, this is why the prospect stuff just infuriates me, because I don't understand how, like, Like, look at Spencer Jones. He's among the top 100 and he's climbing, and then he's out of the top 100 and now he's back in the top 100. Like, just because his flaws were on display, like the player profile was on display. Everybody thinks he's just going to stop striking out, and like I don't know, it all just how it boils my blood. But George Lombard, give him a little bit more time. Hopefully, he takes the next step. I think you see this Jason Dominguez highlight in this game, by the way, or low light, I should say.
Guy taking second base on the single into the gap.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's commenting on it. Trent Grisham is running backwards straight in center field for a looping liner hit in the gap. And then Dominguez has to make up all this ground to run from right field to get this ball in the gap. And then Matt Wallner takes second base because he has all day and he's a lefty running out of the box. I will say, though, the throw was terrible from Dominguez. So, yeah. And speaking of Dominguez, 0 for 2 against Crochet yesterday. Not exactly an indictment, but he's hitting from the right side of the plate again, and he's not getting hits. So that is just continuously going to be an issue. And I don't know.
The only indictment is Winquest for me. Like,
yeah, Winquest is not clearly not good.
No, he's in the fastball is like 95, and everybody, all the people who very helpfully model pitches and stuff are modeling it after today, being like, "Yup, still bad." So I wasn't really exactly counting on him taking a monster step forward and becoming a multi-inning weapon this year, but certain people were telling me that they're not going to miss Luke Weaver because Winquest is the next Luke Weaver, and Winquest is going to. Winquest is the next guy who's going to be on the St. Louis Cardinals in 12 days because he's not even making a team. He's going to be back in St. Louis. So try again, everybody. I think I've said it before. I'll say it again.
Cade Winquest has never pitched above Double-A.
No.
And he's a starter.
Yes. And his velocity is down year over year. Sorry, they didn't finish the bullpen. I love the rotation. Love. I think the lineup is good enough for what they need it to be. The bench is deeper than it's been in years. The bullpen is not finished. The back part of it isn't done. The middle of it is bad. I'm not gonna buy it. I don't buy it. I still don't. Winquest and Chavi, again, I don't care about Angel Chavi, but like the propaganda work in overtime, like, yeah, he had a 7.5 ERA with the Colorado Rockies last year, one of the worst teams ever created. But actually, the IVB on his fastball means it's only going to take a couple of days in the Yankees lab for them to level him up. Oh, no, wait, actually, he's still terrible. Maybe someday. Someday, but not now. Not fast. Jake Bird renaissance has captured my attention. I see you. I see the Jake Bird renaissance, but the rest of it, no, I don't like that at all.
I hope so. I don't know. Again, we are the bullpen, I think, is at least it's tough because I feel like the bullpen is an area of the roster where like you're not dead if it's not top to bottom pristine because there will be options at the trade deadline. But then again, the last few years at the trade deadline, you've seen what the premium prices were for relievers. Like the Padres have emptied their farm system for like Jason Adam and who they traded for somebody else last year where it's like these 3 or 4 prospect for 1 deals. And Brian Cashman doesn't make those deals. I don't know how he got David Bednar, to be honest with you. I really don't. Mm-hmm. And now that you look at the Pirates and what they've done this offseason, it's like they probably should have kept David Bednar. It might have been in really good shape if they did. So like, yeah, I'll hold out hope for the Brian Cashman coup because those happen. And I do understand that there are diamond in the rough bullpen options that the Yankees are going to be able to find. But if you're looking for a premium option, like that's going to cost you. And I don't know what the Yankees are going to be willing to give up. I understand they have this overflow of top prospects right now, but again, could have just spent a couple of bucks this offseason on a few known commodities. And then worst case scenario, what? One of them gets injured and you're like, well, we tried, we spent, now we have to trade. Now it's like, okay, we're going with a couple of lottery tickets, probably going to have to make a trade. It's probably going to happen. Yeah. So that kind of has me uncomfortable. But again, if the rotation's good and then you have the spillover from these guys moving to the bullpen because of innings limits or whatever else, then suppose could be in good shape. I don't know. But yeah, this early returns on the last few guys in the bullpen are not good.
It's just funny. I feel like we are a fan base, again, of extremes. Like, people either automatically tweet like Matt Blake masterclass incoming after they claim a reliever with a 5.89 ERA at AAA, or people tweet like this is garbage. This team's terrible. This roster's never been worse. I'm not buying a single chicken bucket this year. And there are not enough voices in the middle of like, Yankees are great at developing starting pitching. The Yankees have had some recent wins within their system and graduating Ben Rice and Cam Schlittler. You've never seen a year-over-year, body change, arsenal change like that, like what they did to his fastball. And I don't think this lineup is, I don't think this lineup, I don't know what it's going to do in October, and it's going to be judged on an October sample size, but I think they've done a good job in constructing a balanced lineup that if they don't have some worst-case scenarios from guys like Wells and Volpe, looks a lot better this year than it did last year. And last year it looked pretty good until it didn't. So I'm satisfied with the lineup. If you had added another impact bat, I wouldn't have said no. I would have been happy with that. And the rotation, I am more than happy with. And everything I see from Garrett Cole just makes me more excited. The bullpen, I just can't do it. I just cannot get there. And I do not like that. Just one solidified addition who you never are going to know what you're getting from a bullpen piece year over year. So I can't say add a guy where 100% what you're getting, because that's just not going to happen. But you give yourself a higher probability if you bring in Robert Suarez than you do if you claim Cade Winquest in the Rule 5 draft. And someone tells me it's a Matt Blake masterclass waiting to happen, the new Luke Weaver. And no, I don't think so. I don't think he's going to be on the roster, which means he's not going to be in the system, which means that was for nothing.
It's just a shame because I was excited they finally used the Rule 5 pick. And then this is what happens. We got people concerned about Trent Grisham in the comments. Last year, spring training, Trent Grisham wasn't great either. He hit a bunch of home runs, but he batted .214 and struck out 11 times in 13 games. So not going to be worried about him until the regular season performance slips.
Yeah,
and guess what? He's in a contract year. So if you thought he was motivated last year by performing in a contract year, he's in another contract year. So maybe that was part of the Yankees thinking.
Yeah, I like Trent Grisham. I do. I just was worried he was going to throw off the whole rest of the offseason. Then he kind of didn't, because I don't think without him or with him, you're going to be seeing a drastically different Yankees approach to the offseason. And I also...
Bullpen, though. That's it.
Well, bullpen's the only thing.
Yeah.
But again, they don't spend on bullpen arms anymore regardless. So I feel like the likeliest outcome is if they had not spent that money on Trent Grisham, they would have just had one fewer commitment for this season, and we would have seen Dominguez in the outfield. And I don't know if they would have reapportioned that money on a bullpen arm, or if they would have just saved it, or if they would have signed like a Zach Littell or something. I don't know.
I don't know either. But they could have done $22 million at the very least. Again, you put Jason Dominguez in center field. You say, buddy, you're batting lefty for the rest of your career. Stop thinking about righty. And then that's your lefty bat. And then you can go out and get, they're in the same situation that they would have been in, except they're playing a younger player. They're saving $22 million and they're not in this predicament. But if they believe in Trent, they believe in Trent, and we'll just have to see.
I guess so. Well, hey, World Baseball Classic coming up, much more important to most baseball fans than what the Yankees have going on. The Aaron Judge pump-up speech as captain of Team USA, probably a 3 out of 10 there, and I wish it hadn't.
What did everybody expect?
Why'd we have to record it?
Yeah, why'd we have to record it, too, on like a shitty camera?
Why? Like the person who released that knew what they were doing. No one recorded that and then was like, I got straight fire here. Like, America is going to be so inspired by what I tweet when I post this. Yeah. They recorded it and they were like, I'm going to upload. This is going to get me so much interaction because people are going to be shitting all over Aaron Judge. And they were right. But Aaron Judge, dull pump speech. If you were wondering if he's got that fire, no, it's not his thing. But Aaron Judge, 453-foot homer at 116 miles an hour at Team USA camp. Probably closer to a 9 out of 10 than that 3 out of 10. Hey, Team USA's lineup, you watch it and you are immediately mesmerized. But guess what? Team Dominican Republic's lineup, you watch it and you are immediately mesmerized. And they went in an exhibition at home, Juan Soto 2-run home run into Manny Machado, beautiful solo home run into Junior Caminero, just sort of hitting a line drive to right field that carried all the way over the fence. Incredible back-to-back-to-back. Team Japan is just a machine and I know it's not nice to be like, it would be very boring if they won again, but it would be very boring if they won again without Shohei Ohtani pitching. So can we get a little bit of new blood? Can we get Team USA facing the Dominican Republic head on, or maybe an upstart contender, maybe Elmer Rodriguez and Team Puerto Rico? Another guy we're hashtag noticing an effortless 3 innings with 1 hit and 2 walks against the team that dealt him away in a Puerto Rico exhibition match against the Boston Red Sox, and not against total nobodies, against the guys who are left behind at Red Sox camp, which includes Trevor Story and Marcelo Meyer, Christian Campbell, who I guess is trending towards being a nobody, but there you go. Got to be a bummer. I thought about this while watching the exhibitions for guys who are clearly American stars, but didn't make Team USA and have to scrimmage against either Team USA or other countries, like Trevor Story. You're just hanging out at camp. That's a bummer for you. Matt Chapman scrimmaging for the Giants against Team USA, just kind of being like, you guys sure? Yeah, we're sure, Matt. We're good. The roster's set. We're good. We're going without you. I'm ready though. I don't know if this is the team that gets Aaron Judge his first ring, his inspirational jump start, but the 2 darlings of all Yankee fans should be Team USA, with Judge, Andy Pettitte in the dugout, even Yarbs, even David Bednar, and then Team Italy with freaking Jorge Posada, Francisco Cervelli, Sal Fasano, and Dave Righetti on the coaching staff.
Stacked coaching staff. Pretty hilarious. Team Italy also has some ballers, dude. Vinny Pasquantino's on there.
Caglione.
Who?
Jack Cags.
Yeah.
You got some inexplicable Italians in there too. Not to question some Italian heritage.
I can, because I'm Italian.
I'm half Italian too.
Oh, yeah,
I
okay. Yeah,
you can winder, but not know. But like Kyle Teal. Kyle Teal, you're Italian? I know Kyle Teal goes to a deli in Mawa. Like, does that make you Italian? That would be like, he's always posting. I think he's got a family that owns a deli, so I guess he's Italian in some capacity. But Aroldis Chapman, not British. Kyle Teal, Italian. Andrew Fisher of the Milwaukee Brewers, Italian. Like, is that an Adam Weinrib situation? You didn't get the name, but you got the Italian blood, I guess. I don't know. Aaron Nola, Italian. I guess Nola is an Italian name, but it's also so short that I was like, yeah, I mean, you ended it with a vowel, but it's not like Nolatana. So I guess I was a little confused about how we got there. But that's a fun team, and it's unfortunately in USA's bracket, because I would love to root for Posada and Cervelli to carve this thing up, and instead we probably got to root to beat them.
Yeah, you got Pasquantino, Thomas DeJacy from the Cardinals, young.
That's an Italian name right there.
Yeah. Jacob Marcy, Marlins rookie, had a pretty good start to last year. Yeah, I mean, again, the imbalance here is very obvious, where three in almost all of these groups, 3 of the teams don't matter, but maybe we get a little fun Cinderella here. And obviously the Yankees fans have a non-Team USA rooting interest with Team Italy. Based on the early returns from Team USA, I know these have been exhibition scrimmages, but these guys seem to be getting along very nicely. And they're pumped. I know Aaron Judge's speech was lame, but again, Aaron Judge is not a vocal captain. Aaron Judge is not Tom Brady running 100 yards just up and down the field yelling "Let's go" 47 times.
Which, by the way, not inspirational to me.
Also not inspirational, yeah. But dumb people find that inspirational. And there's a lot of dumb people out there. So I think if you did like a dumb, toxic pump up speech like that, they would have been like, oh yeah, Aaron Judge ready to go. He's got the troops rrallied. Aaron Judge
like
keeps
Peyton Tolley at Red Sox camp doing a Chat GPT PowerPoint on the history of America. I guess we could have had that instead.
And Peyton Tolley's just yelling the second he gets into camp too, just screaming randomly.
It's like when frat guys do a little theater. And you're like, why is like when frat guys do a PowerPoint presentation to like make their buddies laugh, and you're like, so you like acting? Why are you doing this?
Judge just stating the obvious. He's like, yeah, we're going to play for our families and also our country. And then there's like the troops as well.
Yeah. Don't forget that you do have a family in America. Most likely, likelier than not, you have family who is also American. Think about that.
I'm glad that everybody's feeling some sense of patriotism by putting on the jersey. But it's gotta go a little bit deeper than that, I think. And I don't think Aaron Judge is necessarily the orator to deliver that. But if he's leading by example, hitting bombs like he's been, he's absolutely tattooing the ball. He looks great in the early going. No rust on this man. And all these other guys are excited to play with him. There's only been positive, glowing reviews. I know obviously no one's going to come out and be like, Aaron Judge is captain. Like, I don't know. I didn't really think about that. I don't really care. Aaron Judge is fine. I watch his interviews on Yes after the Yankees games. They're kind of just whatever. Like no one's saying that, but generally there seems to be good cohesion among this group. And yeah, I'd like to see maybe this is the championship that Aaron Judge, like the pressure gets removed maybe. Because remember, he got his signature playoff moment last year, right? But generally you look at the rest of the body of work and it's not there. And he needs, he needs not exactly an A-Rod 2009 run, but he needs a full ALDS 2 World Series productive playoff run to kind of dispel the rest of all that other stuff. And playing in the WBC before the start of the regular season, getting all of that blood flow and excitement and pressure-packed situations in before opening day could be beneficial.
You want to be annoyed before we end the show?
Yes.
I'm going to annoy you a little bit because I got annoyed by this earlier. I don't know how I missed this too. We've been covering like Bryce and Judge, the Bryce Harper love fest. But I missed this in The Athletic somehow. Harper, who first met Judge at the 2017 All-Star game, said the Yankees right fielder is probably the opposing player he speaks with most. Judge said their relationship formed after the 2018 season when he was trying to get Harper, then a free agent, to be in pinstripes. We chit-chatted about that a little bit. I tried to find a way, Judge said with a smile Monday after Team USA's first workout for the World Baseball Classic. So you're telling me that Aaron Judge, he's not multi-MVP Aaron Judge yet. He's only got 2 years in the bigs, really, 17 and 18. But he's got that 52 homer rookie season. You're telling me that they acquired Stanton the offseason prior and that Judge...
Knew he wasn't going to play outfield.
Yeah, trying to level up is agitating for Bryce Harper's arrival. And that it's not a scenario where he tried and they tried and then Bryce went in a different direction. Harper also talked this week about how it was really down to the Giants and Phillies and Bruce Bochy stepping away, led him away from San Francisco and all that stuff. The Yankees were not involved at all. They made Manny Machado a Photoshop for the scoreboard. They brought Patrick Corbin in. And they really weren't favorites to sign either of those two people. And Machado's free agency lingered and lingered. But like Harper, I don't think got a visit. I don't think Harper got a scoreboard Photoshop. I don't think Harper got anything, an ounce. Brian Cashman had a really dismissive quote about it at the time too. Aaron Judge was trying. He was doing some recruiting. He's doing face-to-face, doing phone calls. You didn't even try. I knew you didn't get him, but now I know you didn't try with Judge sort of with the foot on the gas pedal there, which sucks to learn.
If we find out, I guess I want to know the extent of Judge trying before I actually rage against the machine, because we already knew the Yankee, like it was too, I don't like saying this because I know the Yankees front office definitely hears this in some capacity and they get frustrated with it, but they hate listening to what fans have to say and they hate the obvious fits. For whatever reason, I don't know why, but they don't take the layups, it feels like. Like they went out of their way to trade for Giancarlo Stanton, who, was he a fit at the time? I don't know. Again, like it was exciting to get him. It was great to have him. It was a luxury move for a team like the Yankees to make, but like, was that the player they needed? A guy who played in Miami with no playoff experience and belted a bunch of home runs and had well-documented knee troubles that were probably going to inhibit him later in his career. So like you go out and you acquire the largest contract in North American sports history with Stanton, who had some red flags. I love Giancarlo Stanton, but there were red flags there. And then the tailor-made option in Bryce Harper, who was hitting free agency at fucking 25 years old and would have given you the best bang for your buck on a long-term contract. Your star player is supposedly lobbying for it, and you're just like, no, we're good. I don't know. It's just infuriating. It just goes more in line with everything that the fans say about the front office. The front office can deny it all they want, but again, the book will come out in 20 years. We'll be podcasting maybe from a remote location with bad connection. Mm-hmm. We'll have 4 viewers. We'll be talking about the book, and it will reveal most of the things that we had believed to be true.
Yeah, I'll be eating fermented beans out of a can, trying to hide from whatever the paramilitary. But I will still be annoyed by this. Bryce Harper should have been a Yankee for life. Maybe he will be, but like the comments are saying, they don't think Brian Cashman has the creativity to get him here. I don't think he'll be a Yankee either. But yeah, it was unfun to learn that Aaron Judge was on the case, and Brian Cashman was like, "I'm not interested. I've heard of Bryce Harper, and I don't care." But you can watch them both in the World Baseball Classic coming up this week. Finally, Team USA underway. A welcome distraction. Potentially, this is the year it becomes the World Cup of baseball. And I was there for the Trey Turner home run against Venezuela last year. I will tell you, last cycle 3 years ago, that building got electric, and it was Venezuelan fans mostly. It was honestly quieter when the massive Team USA homer left the yard than it was when Venezuela was pouring on the runs early. But the environment is honestly kind of unmatched for some of these games, and hopefully Team USA does come out on top. If not Team USA, Dominican Republic would be sweet too. And if not either of those, Team Italy underdog run.
Make it fun.
Would be great. Make it fun. Somebody we're not expecting instead of the Otani Glaze Fest. That's it for this week's show, this week's second show. We will see you next week, Monday afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern, live on the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinreb. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinreb. Thomas Carinante, where can the people find you?
At Tommy's_takes. We are both at the official Yanks Go Yard account. That is at Yanks Go Yard FS. Do not forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you haven't, tell your family and your friends. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. That's where all the content is, all the spring training stuff. A lot of things we're discussing over there that we're not talking about on the podcast. And yeah, have yourselves a good weekend. WBC in full force. Here we go. Let's have some fun. And we'll keep you posted with some developments come Monday. So we'll talk to you then.
Until